The smoke reaches you before the sound does. Not incense, exactly. Something older than incense. Something that has soaked into the walls of a building over decades until the building itself has become the smell. You notice it on your first morning at the apartment in Nerima. Standing in the kitchen in socks, waiting for water to boil, and there it is. Drifting through the window you cracked open by 2 centimeters because the air inside felt sealed. You close the window. The smell is already in the room. The apartment is on the 2nd floor of a narrow building on a street so quiet, the sound of a bicycle tire on wet pavement carries for half a block. You moved in on a Tuesday in October. 14 boxes, 1 suitcase, a carry-on bag that you have not fully unpacked, because unpacking implies a decision you are still not certain you have made. The real estate agent told you the neighborhood was convenient. 15 minutes to the Seibu Ikebukuro line, a combini 4 blocks south. A small park with a bench and a vending machine. She did not mention what was next door. Or rather, she mentioned it the way you mention a fact that is technically true but contextually inconvenient, in a single subordinate clause at the end of a longer sentence about the view. The building adjacent is a sogi-ya, she said, using the word for a funeral parlor. Very quiet neighbors. You find out what a sogi-ya is that evening, on your phone, in your new apartment, eating convenience store onigiri that you did not taste because you were reading. A sogi-ya handles the preparation and ceremony of the dead. The bathing. The dressing. The arrangement. The vigils that sometimes run through the night. In Japan, the dead are treated with a specificity that you do not have a word for in your first language. Not reverence exactly. Something more practical than reverence. A protocol for the body. A series of correct actions performed in a correct order, because the people who remain need the actions to be correct and in order. You read this at 11:17 in the evening, in a country you moved to 6 weeks ago, for reasons you have not fully articulated to anyone, including yourself. The building next door is 2 stories. Gray exterior, a small wooden sign by the front entrance with kanji you cannot yet read. A gravel path along the side. A door that you have never seen open during the day. At night, sometimes, a light on in one of the ground floor windows. Not bright. The kind of light that means someone is working rather than living. You see him for the first time on your 3rd morning. He is standing in the gravel path beside the building, facing a small stone altar, set into the wall. His back is to you. He is wearing a dark suit despite the early hour, and his posture has the quality of a man who is very comfortable being still. He lights something. The smoke rises straight up in the cold October air because there is no wind yet. He stands for what you count, silently, as approximately 2 minutes. Then he goes inside. His name is Fujita. You learn this from the wooden sign. Eventually, after you have spent enough time staring at it from your window with your phone open to a translation app, Fujita Sogi-ya. Fujita Funeral Services. No phone number on the sign. In Japan, the businesses that people need most often do not need to advertise. The first week, you are focused on logistics, registering at the ward office, setting up a bank account, buying a bicycle because the combini is 4 blocks, and you are trying, in small ways, to make the distance feel like a choice rather than a fact. You buy a small pot of basil at a garden center near the station because you read somewhere that plants help, and you are the kind of person who reads things like that, and then does them because doing something, anything, is better than sitting in a quiet apartment, waiting to feel like yourself again. The basil is on the kitchen windowsill. It is not thriving. You water it every morning anyway. You see Fujita most mornings now. Always the same time, between 7:30 and 7:45. Always the same ritual. The gravel path. The stone altar. The smoke going up straight. He varies nothing. You find this either impressive or unsettling, and you are not sure which because the feelings share a border and you are not currently very good at reading maps. He is perhaps 60, perhaps older. It is the kind of face that stopped aging at some point and simply settled into itself. He wears the dark suit every day. Not the same suit, you eventually notice, but suits of such identical cut and color that the distinction requires attention you do not have. He moves through his work the way people move when they have done something so many times that the body carries the knowledge and the mind is free to be somewhere else. You do not speak to him for the first 3 weeks. This is partly the language barrier, partly the nature of the neighborhood. where people acknowledge each other with nods calibrated precisely to the social distance between strangers, and partly because you are not, at this point in your life, initiating much of anything. The interaction happens because of the bicycle. You are locking it to the post outside your building on a Wednesday evening in November, your groceries in the front basket, when the locking mechanism jams. You have been fighting it for 4 minutes, growing increasingly aware of how stupid this looks when you hear footsteps on gravel and look up. Fujita is standing 2 meters away. He holds out his hand. In it is a small bottle of machine oil, the kind sold at hardware stores in thin, translucent plastic. He says nothing. You look at the bottle, then at him. He makes a brief gesture toward the bicycle lock. You take the bottle. You apply it. The mechanism releases in 3 seconds. You hold the bottle back out. He shakes his head once, meaning keep it. He turns and walks back toward his building. He is inside before you have thought of anything to say, which is fine, because you had not thought of anything. The bottle is on your kitchen counter now, next to the basil. You oil the lock every week. It never jams again. November deepens. The neighborhood changes in the way Japanese residential neighborhoods change in autumn, incrementally and with care. Persimmon trees along the back street drop their fruit in orange clusters. Someone on your block puts a small Norin curtain over their doorway that reads something you will translate later as warmth or welcome. You are not sure. The sound of the city changes when the leaves are gone from the trees. Sound travels differently through bare branches. Farther, cleaner. The sogi-ya is busy in November. You learn this not from any single dramatic evidence, but from accumulation. A black car parked outside twice a week. Soft voices in the early evenings, the particular quiet of people who are being careful with their volume. Once, a white hearse, which in Japan is decorated differently from what you may have expected. Understated. White curtains behind glass. Arriving and departing with a formality that makes the street feel briefly ceremonial. You stop watching, and then you start again. You cannot help it. The building is right there. And there is something about the operations of a sogi-ya that you find, and this is not a word you expected to use. Honest. No performance. No pretense about what is happening. The dead arrive. They are cared for. The living come, and they are also, in some way, cared for. The building facilitates both. And then everyone goes home. And the gravel path is raked. And tomorrow is the same. One Tuesday morning in late November, you come downstairs to find a small object on your doorstep. A white cardboard container, the kind used for bento. You look around. The street is empty. The gravel path next door is empty. Inside the container, rice, pickled daikon, a piece of grilled fish. Still warm. The fish is meticulous. Skin scored in 3 parallel lines. Bones removed. A small fold of nori tucked to the side. You eat it at your kitchen counter, standing up because you have not yet developed the habit of sitting at the table for meals alone, which is a habit that requires a kind of self-respect you are still assembling. It is the best thing you have eaten in 6 weeks. This happens again the following Tuesday. And the one after, you begin to notice a pattern without meaning to, because patterns are what the mind reaches for when it has nothing else to hold. Always Tuesday. Always before 8 in the morning. Always warm. One Thursday, coming home from the combini at 7 in the evening, you pass Fujita raking the gravel path. You stop. You say, in Japanese, you have been studying for 2 months at a pace driven by something between necessity and something else you have not named. You say thank you for the food. Your pronunciation is careful, probably wrong in 2 places. He pauses the raking. He looks at you. His expression is the same as always, which is not cold and not warm but present. The way a room is present when it is the right temperature and there is nothing wrong with it. He says the food was left over. Then he goes back to raking. You stand there for a moment. Then you go upstairs. You tell yourself he is a practical man, and Japan runs on not wasting things, and the food was left over from a catering arrangement, and your presence next door is the most convenient solution. This is a reasonable interpretation. You use it. It holds. December arrives, and the cold comes with it properly now, the kind that settles into the building and finds the gaps around the window frames and the place where the baseboard meets the floor. You buy a kerosene heater because the apartment's built-in unit is adequate, and the kerosene heater is the kind of decision that makes a space feel occupied rather than endured. The basil dies. You do not replace it immediately. The pot stays on the windowsill with the dry soil inside, and the curled brown stems, which is a thing you do sometimes. Leave the evidence of something that didn't make it, rather than clearing it away, because clearing it away feels final in a way you are not ready for. Fujita notices the pot one morning. You are standing at the window when he comes out to the altar. He looks up. You are not sure if he can see you through the glass at that angle, but something in his posture shifts a fraction. The way a person's posture shifts when they become aware of being observed, and he does not wave or nod, just continues his ritual. But afterward, walking back inside, he glances at the windowsill. The next morning, a small plant is on your doorstep. Sansho, Japanese pepper, in a clay pot the size of a fist. A strip of paper tape on the rim has 3 kanji written in pencil. You translate them later. Hardy. Grows anywhere. Does not need much. You put it next to the dead basil. It does not die. January is the month you start to understand that Tuesday is not a coincidence. You have been here for 3 months, and you have 17 Tuesday food deliveries now. Counted not because you were counting, but because the number surfaces in your mind one evening while you are doing something else entirely. 17 Tuesdays. And it is the kind of number that, once you have noticed it, requires an explanation. You try several. Leftover rotation. Tuesdays are when certain ceremonial preparations generate excess. You think about this seriously for a while. It is possible. It is also possible that you are someone who builds plausible explanations because the alternatives require something from you that you are not giving. February. A morning when the cold is specific and mean, the kind that makes the air inside the building feel preferable even after 12 hours, when you hear a knock. Not your front door, the small side door on the ground floor that you have never used, the one that shares a wall with the sogi-ya. You go down. Fujita is standing on the other side. He is carrying something, a covered tray, the kind used in formal Japanese meal service. He extends it with both hands, which in Japan means the thing being given has weight beyond its physical weight. You take it. Inside, under the cloth, is a bowl of rice porridge, okayu, and on the side a small dish of umeboshi and a folded cloth. You look at the cloth, dark blue cotton with a white pattern along the edge. You look at him. He says nothing. He stands there. He looks at you with that same quality of presence, steady, not intrusive. You say, in your improving Japanese, that you do not know why he does this. Why Tuesdays? He is quiet for a moment. Then he says, you know why. He goes back inside. You stand in the doorway holding the tray. The cold comes in around you. The cloth is old. The cotton is soft from many washes, the kind of softness that takes years to make. You eat the porridge at the table. Sitting down this time. March. The Sansho plant has 4 new shoots. You start sitting by the window in the mornings with coffee, rather than standing in the kitchen, which is a small change but a real one. And the view is the gravel path, and the stone altar and Fujita doing his 7:30 ritual. You have watched it so many times that you could describe it with your eyes closed. The way he stands, the angle of his shoulders, the particular stillness he brings to the 2 minutes after lighting the incense, where he does not move, does not look around, just is there with the smoke. You have begun to wonder what he is praying for, or thinking about, or reporting to, not with any urgency, just as a question that lives in the background of mornings. One morning in late March, he asks you how you are sleeping. You are at your window, and he is in the path, and the windows are single pane and carry sound more than you expected. Are you sleeping? He says. That is the whole sentence. You say yes. Then, after a pause, you say, not well. He nods once. He goes back inside. That evening, a small packet appears on your doorstep. Dried chamomile, a brand you have not seen before. From a pharmacy somewhere, and on the packet, in the same pencil handwriting as the plant tag, 1 word. 7 o'clock. You make the tea at 7. You sleep better. Not well. Better. And better is, you are learning. A word that does more work than it looks like it can carry. April. The cherry blossoms in the park 2 blocks away last for 8 days before the rain takes them. You walk through them once, on day 3, and stand under a particular tree, for a longer time than made sense for the temperature. There are families with cameras, couples, elderly people walking in pairs, all of them moving through the same falling petals in their own private silences. Japan is very good at giving people room to be in the same space for different reasons without making that strange. You walk home along the back street. The sogi-ya exterior has 1 small branch of cherry blossom in the narrow window box next to the entrance. Just one branch, cut short, in a simple white cup. You stop and look at it for a moment. You keep walking. Fujita is in the gravel path. He does not look up. He is doing something to the edge of the path, pulling a weed. His hands are in white cotton gloves. The kind of glove with very little substance to them, thin enough that you could almost forget they were there. He pulls the weed with the same attention he brings to everything. Precise, unhurried, complete. You ask him, because it is April and you have been here for 6 months, and the Japanese has been accumulating. You ask him if the job is difficult. He sits back on his heels. He considers. He says, "Every job done carefully is difficult." You say you mean emotionally. He looks at you. He says, "The families need someone who is not afraid of what happened. So I am not afraid. That is the job." You say you think that is harder than it sounds. He says, "Most things are." You go upstairs. You sit at the window with the Sansho plant, and you think about that for a long time without getting anywhere particular, which is fine. Some thoughts are not destinations. They are just roads. May arrives. You have been in Nerima for 7 months. You speak Japanese at a level your ward office clerk described as very good for 7 months, which you understand as meaning functional, which is the word for when a thing works well enough that people stop thinking about whether it works. You have a routine now. Coffee at the window, bicycle to the language school 3 days a week, kombini on the way back. Thursday evenings at a small restaurant near the station, where the owner, a woman named Ota-san, has started bringing you the daily special without asking, because you have ordered it every time for 11 weeks and she has decided that your preferences are settled. The apartment feels less like a space you are enduring and more like a place you have been. There is a difference. You feel it in the body before you can name it in the mind. The Tuesday deliveries continue. You have stopped trying to explain them. Some things in Japan do not explain themselves, and the not explaining is not evasion. It is a different way of knowing something. You bring it in, you heat it up, you eat it. The food is always good. The care in the preparation is always present. You stop looking for the reason and just receive it. Then one morning, in the 2nd week of May, you go to check your mailbox, and there is something inside that is not a bill or a package slip. A card. White, formal. The size of a postcard but thicker. On the front, a brief printed text in Japanese you have to work through slowly, standing in the entrance of your building in the morning, cold. You read it 3 times. Then you read it a 4th time. It is a memorial card, the kind distributed at Japanese memorial services. Printed with a name and a date. The date is 7 months ago, October. 1 week before you moved in. The name on the card is someone you know. The name is your brother. You sit down on the bottom step of the staircase with the card in both hands. The building is quiet around you. The street outside is quiet. Through the wall to your left, which is the wall that adjoins the sogi-ya, you can hear nothing, which means Fujita is being careful, or Fujita is not there, or the wall is thicker than it seems. Your brother died in October. You know this. You were not there when it happened because you were already here, or on a plane here, or in the transit zone of an airport somewhere in between. You have been carrying that for 7 months in the specific way of someone who has not found the right place to put it down. You do not know how Fujita knew. You think about the rental application, the section where the agency asked for reason for relocation. You wrote it in English because your Japanese was not yet good enough and the agency translated it, or handed it to the landlord, or the information traveled the way information travels in small transactions between offices. Reason for relocation. You wrote family circumstances, but you also wrote more than that. You wrote enough. In the grief of October, you wrote more than you needed to, because grief does not always know what is necessary to say. You sit on the step for a long time, then you go outside. You walk to the gravel path beside the sogi-ya. It is 8:15. Fujita has already done his morning ritual, but he is still inside, visible through the ground floor window, sitting at a desk with papers. You knock on the frame of the side door. He comes out. He looks at you. He looks at the card in your hand. You say, in Japanese, "How long?" He says, "Since November, the 2nd Tuesday. The 2nd Tuesday. 6 months and 3 weeks of Tuesday mornings." You say, "Why did you not tell me?" He looks at you for a moment. He says, "You were not ready." You stand in the gravel path, and you do not say anything for what is probably too long. The Sansho plant is visible through your window from here, small and green on the sill. The stone altar is 3 meters to your right. The incense holder has a faint residue, the gray ash of many mornings. You ask him what he was praying for? Up at the altar. All those mornings? He says, for whoever needed it. You ask if that included your brother? He says yes. You stand there. The smoke from the altar this morning has long since gone. The sky above the narrow street between your buildings is pale, and even the kind of sky that does not commit to weather. A bicycle passes on the main road, a half block away. A door opens and closes somewhere on your street. You ask him, and the Japanese comes out imperfect, but he will understand it. You ask him how he does this, how he stands in that path every day for people he has never met. He is quiet for a moment. He straightens slightly. Then he says, someone must not be afraid, so the people who are afraid have somewhere to put it. He goes back inside. He does not close the door all the way. You stand in the gravel for a moment. Then you go upstairs. You sit at the table. Not the window. The table. You put the memorial card down in front of you, and you look at your brother's name, and you let it be what it is, which is a name, and a date, and a fact about the world that has been true for 7 months, while you have been moving around it without looking directly at it. You sit there for a long time. The Sansho plant is in the periphery of your vision. 4 shoots now, maybe 5. The clay pot is small. The pencil writing on the tape says what it says. In the evening, you find a pair of white cotton gloves on your doorstep. Thin, precise, the kind that leave no marks on anything they touch. No note. You hold them. You do not know what to do with them, which means you know exactly what to do with them, which is keep them somewhere close, in the way you keep the things that have been given to you by someone who understood your situation before you did. The next Tuesday, you knock on the side door before 8. Fujita opens it. You hold out a container, one you bought yesterday and spent the evening filling. Rice, grilled fish, pickled vegetables. Your fish is not as clean as his. The bones are mostly removed. You did your best. He looks at the container. He looks at you. He takes it with both hands. He nods once. He says, in a voice that does not make a thing of it, next time, score the skin in 3 lines. It makes the heat distribute evenly. He closes the door. You stand on the step. Then you go back upstairs. The morning is early enough that the street has not fully committed to the day. The stone altar next door catches the first low light. The incense holder is still bare from yesterday. In a few hours, Fujita will come out and light it, and stand with the smoke going straight up and be present for exactly 2 minutes for whoever needs it. You stand at your window with coffee. The Sansho plant is on the sill between you and the cold. Outside, the gravel path, the altar, the narrow strip of sky above the buildings, pale and even, and already holding more light than yesterday. You stay at the window until the smoke starts to rise. This story is fiction, but Japan operates more than 47,000 licensed sogi-ya. The people who work in them handle, on average, more than 150,000 deaths per year. The profession has no formal grief counseling requirement for its practitioners. Most learn how to hold other people's losses by deciding, on their own, that someone has to.